Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northfield. My name is Augie Lane, and I have been a Unitarian Universalist for exactly 21 years and 2 days. And I've been coming to this church since fall of 2022. Whether you came here for the 1,000th time, or this is your first time here, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your accent, whoever you love, whatever religious beliefs you hold, we are glad you are here. You are welcome in this sacred space. Leave nothing behind. Bring your love and your heartbreak, your fear and your defiance, your grieving and your dreaming. Come with your entire self. For today is a day for community. Today is a day we remind each other we are not alone. Later in the service, we will take our Share the Plate offering as a way to care for the wider world. This month's recipient is Community Action Center, or CAC, which supports Rice County families through a variety of resources, including food, housing, recovery support for substance use disorders, and seasonal initiatives like Operation Joy. They have asked for our support in November as the holidays approach. This is the time for us to double down on caring for our neighbors. During the offering later, you may donate online from our website, uunorthfield.org, or put cash or check in the basket. There will also be instructions on the screen during the offertory time. I also call your attention to the announcements in your order of service and weekly email, especially about our special Heartwood Community Singing Workshop on Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. All ages and all voices are welcome and needed. Tell your friends and bring them along. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northfield.
Good morning, all. I am the Reverend Sara Smalley, she, her pronouns, and I serve this congregation as its minister. I know not everyone in this room voted for the Harris Walls tickets, but I know many did. Either way, the words Tim Walls spoke yesterday, just up 35E in Egan, are spot on for me as well. I don't know about you, but I've had a week. I know you have too. But let me start out by saying it's great to be home. We have all had a week. And this morning, as Augie said, whether it's your 1000th time or your first time here, it's good to be home. Good to be home here in this moment with these people. The words for our call to worship today are the same words we used to open our post-election vigil on Wednesday. These are the words of the Reverend Egbert Etheridge Brown, an early Black Unitarian minister ordained in 1912. Hear these words of our spiritual ancestor who knew much about resistance in the face of despair. As we face a troubled and puzzled world, we too are troubled and puzzled. As our fond dreams remain unrealized and our bright hopes of yesterday wither in the bitter disappointments of today, our courage fails, our spirits droop, our faith trembles, and frustrated, we bow our heads in despair. Nevertheless, we come to this hour of worship in this sacred space. As we seek to recommit ourselves to peace in our time, may we first be at peace with ourselves and one another. May we know that without love, there will never be peace. Teach us, therefore, to love. Teach us to love. Our task for these troubled and puzzling times is the same. Let us learn what it means to love and be loved. Let us learn to love courageously. Come, let us worship together.
The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Each Sunday when we gather, we bring this symbol to life together. Please join me in speaking the words for the lighting of the chalice. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
We are going to keep on until we find it. More love, more hope, more peace, more joy. We'll talk about our great task of mending the world later in the service, and of course in the weeks and days and months and years to come. And there will be much time for analysis and planning and organizing as well. But today I want to start with offering some thoughts about how we might begin to mend our spirits and why it matters. This is sort of a mini sermon now, and there will be a mini sermon later, just so you're not worried that you're going to get another 20 minutes later. It's hard to describe the emotions of the past week. Devastation, anger, whether consuming or motivating, bewilderment, fear, numbness, exhaustion, determination, all of the above and more. Some of you may also have had wonderful things happen this week. I hope that is true. And what I'm about to share won't resonate for some of you, and that's okay too. You can hold with compassion those for whom it does. This week was a shock to our systems, our political systems and our nervous systems. I was worried but hopeful a week ago. I'm now downright scared and crawling my way back to hope. And yet we're just supposed to go on like nothing has happened. As Jan Richardson writes, slightly adapted, weep, scream, wail if you want. There was a reason the ancients told us to rend our clothes after a loss, to cover our heads with ashes. They knew that keeping it together was overrated. If only we had such embodied rituals today, because many of us are experiencing a trauma response right now. This election brings up the trauma of the 2016 election and the trauma of our collective fear during the pandemic. For those of us who are sexual assault survivors, it brings up the trauma of seeing an abuser have power over us again. And for those with marginalized identities, it brings up the trauma of generations of oppression at the hands of a wealthy, white, cishet man. This trauma lives in our bodies. And not just trauma. Think about how sadness, fear, and anxiety change how it feels to be in your body. I spoke a few weeks ago about my grief and about grief in general, all the different types of grief, and it fits here too. I am grieving the fact that so many of my fellow citizens were okay voting for a racist, sexist, rising fascist. And more, I am grieving an entire future that will never exist with a woman president in the lead. Much has been harmed. My heart hurts. Today, we are starting with the task of mending our spirits for two reasons. This matters for two reasons. First, as Reverend Robert Bartlett says, we must practice joy because people who are despairing are easy to govern. If we stay shut down and closed off, we don't organize. It is an act of resistance to honor our pain but not let it stop us. It is an act of resistance to cultivate hope, feel joy, write poetry, talk to the trees, sing together. And second, mending our own spirits matters not just because it is a means to an end, it is an end in and of itself. You deserve healing, full stop, for no other reason that you are a child of this universe, whole and holy. It is not somehow noble to stay miserable while trying to heal the world. You are a part of the world, not separate from it, deserving of tenderness. In order to begin the long process of mending our hurting hearts, I want to offer a poem, some trauma-informed things you might do to tend your spirit in the days and weeks ahead, and then a prayer that we might experience some soul mending here together today. Take what resonates and leave the rest. First, the words of the poet. This is from Instructions in Joy by Nancy Schaefer. How shall we mend you, sweet soul? What shall we use, and how is it in the first place you've come to be torn? Come sit, come tell me, we will find a way to mend you. I would offer you so much, sweet soul. This banana, sliced in rounds of palest yellow atop hot cereal, or these raisins scattered throughout it. If you'd rather, I would offer cellos in the background singing melodies Vivaldi heard and wrote for us to keep. Would hold out to you everything colored blue or lavender or light green. All of this I would offer you, sweet soul. All of it, or any piece of it, might mend you. I would offer you, sweet soul, this chair by the window, this sunlight on the floor and the cat asleep in it. I would offer you my silence, my presence, all this love I have, and my sorrow you've become torn. How shall we mend you, sweet soul? With these, I think, gently we can begin. We will mend you with a rocking chair, some raisins, a cat, a field of lavender beginning now to bloom. We will mend you with songs remembered entirely the first time ever they were heard. We will mend you with pieces of your own sweet self, sweet soul, with what you've taught from the very beginning. Our torn apart souls are mended with the essence of our souls. They are mended by gentle care. How do we do that when everything feels so harsh? Here are some things that might be especially helpful for you if you are experiencing dysregulation right now in the form of what is known as dorsal freeze, which I think may be relatable for many of us. This is when it feels like you have a lot of nervous energy inside, but you have no energy or focus to actually do anything. Think of it like a car engine revving, but it's in neutral, so it stays stuck. In the words of the Reverend Molly Hausch Gordon, okay, so here is what we're going to do. First, we are going to tend to our bodies. Drink water, move some of that adrenaline out. Walk, dance, cry, breathe, sing, rock, shake, jiggle, cuddle. This may take a while. This is trauma and grief. Be so gentle with yourself. Second, we are going to get with our people. Isolation is the enemy. Safety is in community, and there are communities of resistance and hope right where you are. We will need each other. We always did. Then, in a while, when we are ready, with our people and our bodies and all our resources, we are going to make sanctuaries for all we can save. There is so much to save. To expand on her ideas, first, tend to your body. Even small movements help. Wiggle your toes or shake out your hands or do a full body shake in your kitchen after listening to NPR for a little too long. As Jonathan Durham reminds us, Please remember that after every hour curled up in the fetal position, you should stand up and primal scream for 5 minutes to stretch out your back. Then eat something with protein in it. Then eat something delicious. Don't lose your sobriety over this, but if you do, don't let shame take over. Turn off the news or stop scrolling for at least a few minutes. Our brains were not meant to process so much information day in and day out. Of course, we are overwhelmed. Open a window and get fresh air and energy moving. Go outside and blow bubbles. Howl at the moon. And then connect. Connect with the earth, with the breath, with your people. Come sing together. Strengthen your commitment to communities you believe in. Give and receive care. Isolation is the enemy. And then, with our people and our bodies and all our resources, we are going to make sanctuaries for all we can save. How shall we mend you, sweet soul? Let's join together now in a time of reflection and connection that some call prayer, and invite some small measure of healing to begin in our hurting hearts. Remaining seated, I invite you to join in singing Comfort Me, as printed in your order of service or on the screen. You will learn it quickly if you don't know it already. We'll pause in between each verse as I share a common prayer, and I will cue you when it's time to sing together. Feel free to close your eyes if you know the song, if that feels right for you. Either way, keep breathing deeply. Oh, my sweet soul. At times, the challenges I face are too much illness, too much fear, too much struggle, too much conflict between family and neighbors, too much suffering in the world, and what shall we do? Can I bear the weight of it all? It is hard to be human, especially a soft-hearted human. Spirit of love, will you comfort me? Together we sing. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Oh, my soul, at times I feel alone, isolated, even if there are other people around me. It can be hard to share my inner world with others or to let them help me. But when we sing together, I feel others' presence. And I know that together we have enough caring to go around for everyone, including me. Gathered community, will you sing with me? Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Oh, my soul, sometimes I am just weary. When it's hard to get out of bed in the dark morning, hard to face difficult tasks, hard to lift my foot or open my heart, I know I might need rest and fortitude. I may need to refill the well within me. Rest is a gift that I will try to allow myself to have when I need it. My needs are important, and I deserve rest. Oh, my soul, come sit by me and rest. When I have been nourished with song, I grow stronger. When I have felt the presence of a caring community around me, I feel more able to use my own power. When I have given my body and spirit the rest they need, I am renewed. And yes, my soul, when the light grows, mercy, the light is growing. Day by day, like a green growing thing, I am ready to rise. In power and beauty, I return to the world and bring it my love and my joy. I hope you felt some comfort, some sense of your soul ready to rise. Comfort me, O my soul. We sing these words to ourselves, hoping the music echoes far beyond these walls. Each week when we gather, we share joys and sorrows as a core communal spiritual practice, inviting our full souls to show up here. There is space here for our love and our heartbreak, our fear and our defiance, our grieving and our dreaming. And so we turn now our attention to sharing the sorrows and celebrations of our lives. We light our first candle as a blessing for the wider world. Because this world is complicated, we can't ignore that tomorrow is Veterans Day. We light our candle and we remember that this day started as Armistice Day. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, World War I ended, with the armistice signing between the Allied powers and Germany. This candle reminds us that peace is possible. And so on Veterans Day this year, may we embrace those we have sent forth in our names into danger. May they receive healing care in abundance, and may peace prevail. We know too that the details of our daily lives are sacred and important, and we light candles to honor the sorrows and celebrations of our gathered community. I'm going to start have not been spoken out loud, and we move into a time of shared sacred silence that we may hear what love is trying to tell us. Amen and blessed be.
We will now expand our circle of care as we gratefully give and receive our Share the Plate offering for the Community Action Center. This is a tangible way we show our love for our neighbors. Will the ushers please come forward?
As you might imagine, there was much conversation this week among Unitarian Universalist ministers about what the heck we were going to say on Sunday morning. One colleague inquired if his sermon could just be him screaming into the void for 15 minutes. I was tempted, it's kind of where I'm at. I want to scream into the void that cruelty and oppression were not only on the ballot, they got more votes than love and justice. I went to scream into the void that we had the chance to elect a highly qualified Black woman to lead us, and instead elected a white businessman and bully. I went to scream into the void that a Trump pregnancy will hurt and harm people I love, including people in this room. I also quipped to a colleague that in retrospect, as part of our building addition plans here at UUFN, we should have included a rage room where we could ritually smash plates together every week, soundproof, of course. It's not too late? All right. We'll talk to the architects. And there were also times this week I felt way too exhausted to even consider screaming into the void. Just existing felt like all I was capable of. I scroll on my phone and flip through news channels trying to find some information from the future that it won't be as bad as I fear. I don't find the reassurance I'm looking for. I consume poetry like it's oxygen. Rosemary Watola Trommers, when you ask me if I can say yes to the world as it is. Today, yes is made of lead. You look at me and I nod, and together we carry the weight. And Barbara Kingsolver, truth and love have been smacked down so many more times in history before today. Truth because it's often inconvenient, and love because it's vulnerable. But truth is like gravity and carbon and the sun behind the eclipse. It's still there. And love stays alive if you tend it like a flame. There are many things to be afraid of these days. The appalling distortion of truth, the rising volume of hatred, what might happen to the most marginalized, not only in this country, but around the world, and what might happen to the earth, and reproductive health care, and mental health, and LGBTQ safety. The list goes on. My colleague, the Reverend Dr. James Cabal Komodo, shares his fears. I suppose I am most afraid of what kind of world I will be leaving to my son and all other children. And if I am to be honest, I am also worried about what might be asked of me as an individual and asked of us as a congregation during the coming years. In the Fellowship of the Rings, Frodo says, "I wish it need not have happened in my time." And Gandalf responds, "So do I, and so do all who live to see such a time." But that is not for us to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time given to us. Right now, I wish this had not happened in my time, and I am afraid of what we might be asked to do with the time that is given to us. Today, yes is made of lead, but together we carry the weight. The good news is we were made for this work. It is in our religious DNA, our heritage as Unitarians and Universalists and Unitarian Universalists, to be the people who provide safe harbor and counter-cultural resistance in a troubled and puzzling world. I know the history of the Flaming Chalice well. I have preached on it before, but it has never felt more relevant that this is the symbol of our faith than it does today. Let me tell you the story of its history again. During World War II, the Unitarian Service Committee, the USC, was founded in Boston to assist Eastern Europeans, among them Unitarians as well as Jews, who needed to escape Nazi persecution. The Unitarian Service Committee was an unknown organization in 1941, which was a problem in a world of midnight runs across guarded borders to get people to safety. This was a cloak and dagger world. The executive director of the USC, Reverend Charles Joy, asked Austrian artist who had escaped himself from the Nazis, Austrian artist Hans Deutsch, to create a symbol for their papers to, quote, make them look official, to give dignity and importance to them, and at the same time to symbolize the spirit of our work. When a document may keep a man out of jail, give him standing with governments and police, it is important that it looks important. And so, with pencil and ink, Hans Deutsch drew a chalice with a flame. The original design was reminiscent of the lamps of holy oil used by the ancient Greeks and Romans on their altars, and he added a flame representing the fire of knowledge and a spirit of helpfulness. In time, the flaming chalice became a symbol of Unitarian Universalism around the world. It is not an exaggeration to say that this symbol saved lives during World War II, and it will again today. This is what church and faith is for. We light our chalice in times of grief to soften its raw edges. We light it in times of joy to add radiance to our lives. And every time we light it, it is an act of resistance to the cruelty of the world. Every time we light it, we are remembering our heritage of resistance to fascism and white supremacy, and making a statement that here we create sanctuary for bodies and spirits. When we say each Sunday before lighting our chalice, we bring this symbol to life together. We mean we touch flame to wick and turn what was a cold, static vessel into something that shines. And we mean we too are like chalice flames, bringing this symbol and this faith to life in our lives. I'm lighting my chalice at home more and more often these days. I'm calling to mind and heart our Unitarian and Universalist and Unitarian Universalist spiritual ancestors like Egbert Brown, the Black Unitarian minister of the first half of the 1900s who gave us our opening words today. Do we really think he didn't have reason to be fearful as a Jamaican immigrant to the United States? Do we think it didn't take courage for him to invite Black socialists to speak in his congregation, or to give sermons with titles like Police Brutality in Harlem and God Was Tired of Him, referring to Hitler? The courageous love of our spiritual ancestors lives on in us. We woke up on Wednesday morning to the same America that has always been, a country whose history is filled with racial violence, patriarchal oppression, and capitalistic exploitation. I had hope with this election that some of that might shift, not because Harris was a perfect candidate, but because I believed she was our best choice to begin to repair the social fabric that had been ripped to shreds. And now we have to figure out how to mend things while they are still being torn apart. But we have purpose now. Or more accurately, we have always had purpose to be love embodied, to heal hearts and heal the world, to amplify joy and justice. But now we know how high the stakes are. We must take up this work. And to be clear, we don't have to all take up all of this work. Overwhelm does no one any good. We need to be in this for the long haul. We need to be long-haul, justice-seeking people. And none of us can take on the overwhelm of all there is to be done. But we don't have to. We carry this weight together. We each do our part. We can each choose one or two areas we might want to focus on, and we can each choose one or two small things a day or a week, maybe one big thing a month that we can do to affect change. And we can take breaks when we need to, and we can come together and cry and laugh together. And those of us with more privilege can do more, and those most targeted and vulnerable can make the choices that are right for them, whether it's engaging in the work or getting a passport and visa ready so they can stay as safe as possible. We want you to be safe. People who are despairing are easy to govern, and so are isolated people. Divide and conquer is a strategy for a reason. They want us to give up hope and to give up on each other. We won't let them. How then shall we mend the soul of our nation? With connection, with community, by building our social networks and organizing our activism, by not reinventing the wheel or thinking we know what's best, but by following the lead of the Black, brown, Indigenous, disabled, and queer activists who have been doing this work for decades. From Side with Love, the Unitarian Universalist Association's public witness campaign, as Unitarian Universalists, this is how we will mend what has been broken. Beloveds, we will hold our fear together. We will hold We will honor our rage and devastation and grief. We will hold one another ferociously, tenderly, faithfully. And then we will move deliberately. We will invest in trust. We will claim joy, rest, and sustenance. We will resist en masse. We will fight fascism and continue the struggle for democracy. We will continue to build our movements for justice. We will focus our efforts and abandon distractions. We will create safe harbor for those in danger. We will leverage our resources. We will sharpen our skills and our analysis. We will act as if no person is disposable. We will refuse the politics of division and despair. We will seek the wisdom of elders and of history. We will weave deeper connections with our neighbors. We will fight for our survival. And we will create the conditions of possibility for our thriving and liberation for all. Love stays alive if you tend it like a flame. Keep tending this flame. Keep love alive. Amen, and may it be so. And our choir will now sing.
Peace in our hearts, peace in our hands, peace in our lives, peace in our lands. Peace unto you, peace unto me, peace unto all the world's family. So many people have helped shape our lives, striving for truth, they have lived and died. We remember their faces, we remember their names, we strive to continue what they strive to gain. Peace in our hearts, peace in our hands, peace in our lives, peace in our lands. Peace unto you, peace unto me, peace unto all the world's family. We shall
In the book Hope in the Dark, Untold History's Wild Possibilities, Rebecca Solnit makes a radical case for hope as a commitment to act in a world whose future remains uncertain and unknowable. These are her words. They want you to feel powerless and to surrender and to let them trample everything, and you are not going to let them. You are not giving up, and neither am I. The fact that we cannot save everything does not mean we cannot save anything, and everything we save is worth saving. You may need to grieve or scream or take time off, but you have a role no matter what. And right now, good friends and good principles are worth gathering in. Remember what you love. Remember what loves you. Remember in this tide of hate what love is. The pain you feel is because of what you love. The Wobblies used to say, don't mourn, organize. But you can do both at once. And you don't have to organize right away in this moment of furious mourning. You can be heartbroken or furious or both at once. You can scream in your car or on a cliff. You can also get up tomorrow and water the flower pots and call someone who's upset and check your equipment for going onward. A lot of us are going to come under direct attack, and a lot of us are going to resist by building solidarity and sanctuary. Gather up your resources, the metaphysical ones that are heart and soul and care, as well as the practical ones. People kept the faith in the dictatorships of South America in the 1970s and 1980s, in the East Bloc communities in the USSR. Women are protesting right now in Iran, and people there are writing poetry. There is no alternative to persevering, and that does not require you to feel good. You can keep walking whether it's sunny or raining. Take care of yourself. And remember that taking care of something else is an important part of taking care of yourself, because you are interwoven with 10 trillion things in this single garment of destiny that has been stained and torn, but is still being woven and mended and washed. We will now join together in singing Gentle Angry People. This hymn holds a special place in my heart, and I want to share why before we start. When I was around 17 or 18, as the world was opening back up, I attended my first Pride Parade in Lincoln, Nebraska. And as I watched, one of the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Lincoln reached out to me because I had been attending there for a while, and she said, "Join us, walk with us." And I grabbed my friend's hand and we joined up with the parade. And as we rounded the corner, we saw some people who were there for a very different reason than my friend and I were there. And they were holding signs that said very hateful things. And then I hear, just out of the blue, I hear the woman who had invited me to join. I hear her voice lifting and singing, "We are a gentle, angry people." And I looked up at these people who were holding signs and who were claiming that hate would be stronger than love. And I joined in this chorus, and I felt our spirits soar. And I knew in that moment, we would never fully take down fear. As Pitch Black says at the end of the Rise of the Guardians movie, which is a fantastic movie, "You can't get rid of me. There will always be fear." And then Jack Frost says back, or no, it's Santa Claus that says back, "So what? As long as one child believes, we will be here to fight fear. As long as you believe, we will be here to fight fear. As long as you lift your voice with the rest of us and sing, we will be here, us as a gentle, angry people, to fight fear." Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn. Gentle, Angry People. The lyrics are in your order of service and on screen.
We are a
You may be seated and cheer. Woo! And keep singing. You are not giving up, and neither am I. The fact that we cannot save everything does not mean we cannot save anything, and everything we save is worth saving. We are interwoven with 10 trillion things in this single garment of destiny that has been stained and torn, but is still being woven and mended and washed. Go forth to mend what has been torn. Use threads of justice, beauty, and joy. May it be so, and may we make it so. We join together in the words for the extinguishing of the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now please rise in body or spirit, and with your hands over your heart or holding the hand of those next to you, or whatever posture is most comfortable, we sing words of blessing one to another. Go in peace.